I'm the city mayor, and he set up this scenario. He knew what he was doing. He knew Mamdani was going to be on the ballot no matter what on the Working Family lines. He knew I was going to be on the ballot. So why would he put himself on the ballot after the election? He should have won the primary.
Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at Mayor Eric Adams, who is running for re-election in New York City. Now, Adams went on Fox Business and he did not hold back when talking about the Democrats. Adams used to be a Democrat, but is running as an independent. So let's take a look at what he has to say about Joe Biden.
Talk to me about your relationship with then President Biden, because I remember when these buses started to come into New York City, bus after bus. We ended up with over 60,000 migrants in the care of New York City that the New York City taxpayers were paying for. And there was a lot of anger in the city at that time. And I remember getting the sense that you were angry because you were asking the Biden administration for help. You said, we can't afford this. We need your help. Did you feel heard by the Biden administration at that time? Because it seemed that you got a bit of a cold shoulder.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And it was 230,000 migrants and asylum seekers. At one time, 4,000 a week we were getting. And this was after 10 trips to Washington. So when people say you criticize the White House, I criticized the White House after 10 trips and sitting down with the president and stating that this was costing us 7.7. At that time, it was probably about $6 billion. There was a great deal of frustration and unwillingness to understand the urgency at the border. And now that you see that the border is secure, when we're getting less than 100 a week coming into our city area. So
Adams has really flip-flopped on illegal migration, so I would take any claims he makes here with a hefty dose of skepticism. Now, that's not to say that he's wrong about the disastrous border policy of the Biden-Harris administration, which was really no border policy at all. As we've seen with President Trump, the means to secure the southern border were always within the president's reach. It's just that the will was not. Now, New York City's Roosevelt Hotel, also known as the Migrant Hotel, just shut down. Eric Adams delivered a very self-congratulatory speech about the work that his administration did there. Nonetheless, they were funneling taxpayer money towards migrants, many of whom presumably were illegal. Unfortunately, the primary candidate that Adams is up against is no better on the question of immigration, and in fact is far worse. Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee and Democratic socialist, has promised to end cooperation with ICE in total. So New Yorkers are really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
There was a great deal of frustration of not willing to listen and diagnose the problem. Not only in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, Denver, we were crippling in our cities in the process.
You know, Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis, a good friend of our program, she has said, here's what it's going to take to defeat Mamdani. Common sense, Democrats, independents, Republicans, conservatives have to stick together to stop this person who could be so destructive to the city of New York. And you now have the New York real estate community, developers in this city that are coming out and publicly supporting you and backing you because they are afraid of what a Mayor Mamdani could do to Manhattan that has just begun to recover from the scourges of the pandemic under Bill de Blasio.
Mamdani is certainly radical, although I think that word might actually undersell his policies. A few proposals include taxing whiter neighborhoods at a higher rate, opening up city-run grocery stores, and basically gutting New York City's elite public schools. So it's no wonder that real estate developers and sensible New Yorkers alike are steering far clear of Mamdani, even if it means voting for Adams, who has not had a stellar tenure, at least in my opinion.
So January 2nd, 2022, when I came into office, we saw our entire tourism industry was decimated, our hotel industry. We saw boarded up retail shops. And now you see the liveliness of the city back. Our economy is the strongest it has ever been. Our Broadway industry with the number of shows, the greatest 12 months in the recorded history. the decrease in crime. We don't need to move in the wrong direction. And when you talk about developers, we're not only talking about the large developers with thousands of units, we talk about the small property owners, 14-unit buildings, who everything is tied into the economy. We're supporting our small property owners. We're encouraging more building in the city because we had a housing crisis, and we knew we had to develop more housing in the process. And listen, this city must be a city where you welcome the person who drives the limousine and the person who sits in the back of the limousine. Yeah. When you say you don't want any billionaires in the city, you really don't understand the economics of the city and the ecosystem of the city when it comes down to economics. Billionaires put teachers in our classroom, police officers on our streets, help us pave our roads. We need that combination, and everyone should be treated with the dignity they deserve.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Mamdani doesn't really understand economics in general, much less applied to the city that he now lives in. He moved to New York with his family from Uganda when he was a child. He became naturalized in 2018, I believe. And then I suppose he made it his mission to destroy the city that took him in. I mean, his proposal for city-run grocery stores was apparently based on a monetary fund which doesn't actually exist. So he once said that he wanted to put the $140 million that the city is already set to spend on private grocery stores towards city-owned ones. Unfortunately, that 140 figure is private investment. So if he can't be trusted to read a website with some scrutiny, I definitely fear for what New York will become under his reign.
Even Governor Kathy Hochul, when asked about Mamdani's push for raising taxes, she says, no, I don't want to drive more money out of New York City. Right. I want to ask you this. There are some, obviously, it's you've got Andrew Cuomo. You've said that he called you and asked you to drop out. Right. And your response was, again?
If I were to use that term on the air, they'd probably censor us. But the bottom line is, I'm the city mayor, and he set up this scenario. He knew what he was doing. He knew Mamdani was going to be on the ballot no matter what, on the working family lines. He knew I was going to be on the ballot. So why would he put himself on the ballot after the election? He should have won the primary. You don't spend $25 million, a 32-point poll lead, and feel you're not going to go out and campaign. That was wrong to do. He had his opportunity. Give me an opportunity. I'm going to win this race, and I'm going to continue the city moves forward. And for one reason only, I love New York. Yeah,
many of us do. I, as a New Yorker, love this city as well. You know, there are some that have said...
I mean, Adams is a politician, so I'm not sure I take him at his word here when he says there's a singular reason that he's running. But certainly, I think Adams is much more of a New Yorker than Mamdani, and perhaps more importantly, is less likely to turn the city into some sort of post-apocalyptic ruin. Now, Cuomo did lose the primary against Mamdani, and to Mamdani's credit, he clearly knows his audience. I mean, all of his campaign ads are made in this extremely slick millennial style. He has this beaming smile on his face at every public appearance. So I think that he's an adept enough snake oil salesman to fool plenty of people.
That maybe President Trump should offer you a job so that you would step out of the race in New York, clear the way for someone that's not Zohran Mamdani. Would you ever consider something like that?
Well, I have a job, the greatest job on the globe, the mayor of the city of New York. And when you think about it, I'm the only one that's running that has won being mayor. No one else has. Andrew ran in the primary. He lost by 12 points. Polls were showing that he was up, when in reality, he underestimated the unregistered voter. We're going to register 1 million new voters. We're going to allow the 91% of New Yorkers to come out and voice what they want our city to look like. Only 9% voted in the primary. 91% have yet to communicate. So the question becomes, do we want to defund our police or support our police? Do we want to empty Rikers Island and allow those dangerous criminals back in the community to impact them? Or we want to make sure that they serve their time for the crimes? Do we want to support small supermarkets, or do we want government supermarkets and dismantle the industry? So there's some real differences between the candidates that's running and the current mayor. And I'm going to show the New Yorkers those.
And you have reduced crime.
Yeah, I mean, that is for sure. there are some real differences between Mamdani and Adams. Now, I don't actually want to see New York City run into a state of irreparable damage. I think it's a beautiful city. There's a lot of cultural capital there. There's a lot of monetary capital there. And I think it's obviously a mistake to cede America's biggest city by population to a resentful socialist who wasn't even born in America. However, I will say it would be kind of funny if Mamdani accidentally recreated the circumstances of Escape from New York.
Crime in New York City, to be clear. I mean, murders were down 23% year to date by the end of June. We have to talk about this. Total major felony offenses dropped nearly 6% in that same time frame. But moving forward, now the messaging for you between now and November is why you were a better candidate than a Zohran Mamdani or an Andrew Cuomo. What is the plan forward for you in the path?
Communication, direct-to-consumer communication. We saw that's what he was successful at doing, and we're going to do that. But what's really being missed here is that people talk about the excitement of the 9%ers that voted on his end. They're missing the excitement that is being shown. Those who are saying we want our city not to move in the wrong direction. There's some unbelievable energy out there. I've never witnessed it before in politics. It was almost an alarm clock went off on primary day, and people said, we must be involved in this pursuit of what's happened in November. I've never witnessed this level of energy before. And I said it before, this is going to be one of the most exciting campaign seasons in the history of this city.
I think Zohran and Adams alike have something in common, which is that they're both characters. Now, Adams is more authentically a personality than Zohran, at least in my opinion. Whenever I watch clips of Zohran, it's like he's wearing the skin of a human being and trying to seem empathetic and normal and friendly. But Adams is sort of larger than life, and in that way, I think he resembles Trump, who, of course, is very much a New Yorker as well. So this may be the future of American politics in general. But what do you think? Who's going to win this race? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.